because you're going to encounter a lot of feminine nouns, and they have funny endings, and they are there for a purpose, okay? So please get used to recognizing declension. Declension means how you represent the different functions of the word in a sentence. So let's get acquainted with what we're talking about. Now, a noun has a Greek noun has number. It can be singular, plural, gender, male, female, or neuter, case. Then we're going to look at how you actually decline the word. We're going to look at some of the different, what are called paradigms. We're going to talk about the Greek article, the conjunctions. We're going to introduce you to a few of those. Talk a little bit about parsing, just to get you up to speed with what that's going to look like and what that's going to mean. And then, of course, we always end the class looking at vocabulary. So the first thing I want to look at here with you is number. In Greek nouns and verbs, number refers to whether it is singular or plural. Now, in English, we add an S or ES to make a word plural. We would say a boy, but we say boys, and we add an S. Some words like box, we make them plural by adding ES. This is the linguistic function in English. Now, Greek indicates singular or plural by the endings, just as in English, we add S and ES. But the Greek used different endings depending on how the word is being used in the sentence. For example, phone, which you should have learned last week, the word for voice, phone versus phonai, voices. Phone is singular, phonai is plural, meaning more than one voice. Cardia, the word for heart, and cardia, cardiae, hearts, plural. Notice the ending. In phone, the eta indicates singleness. In cardia, the alpha indicates single. Whereas phonai, the alpha iota, indicates plural. In both phonai and cardia, endings indicate or give you the information you need as to the number of the noun, okay? That is what gives you the number of the noun, the ending. So in Greek nouns, particularly the first declension nouns, they indicate whether a word is singular or plural by the endings, just as we do in English, boys, boxes. In Greek, however, there is a different ending for each of the particular usages that you have, okay? Gender, on the other hand, is, as in English, host is masculine, a hostess is feminine. Now notice we change this, we add this ESS to the word host to make it feminine, okay? In steward is masculine, but a stewardess is feminine. Now, of course, this is one of the few words in English that actually form gender distinctions this way. We don't actually have a lot of words that actually do this, but in the Greek language, every word does, because in the Greek, it can be masculine, referring to male, feminine, referring to female, or neuter, not referring to either male or female. Now, that's a little deceptive for me to be saying male or female, because the word actually has nothing to do with male and female. It has more to do with how the language itself functions. So don't get into thinking that because something is masculine, it must be a man, because a stick can be masculine. A boat can be masculine or feminine, depending. It just depends on the word and it depends on its usage and how they conceptually made it. But you need to know that in Greek, you're always dealing with either masculine, feminine, or neuter nouns, and you recognize them based on the ending. It's the ending of the word that tells you whether it's masculine, feminine, or neuter. Now, tonight, we are looking at first declension nouns, and first declension nouns are feminine, okay? They are feminine, okay? So that's something you have to kind of wrap your mind around if you're going to get that. Somebody wants to record. I thought I turned that on last week. Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, I'll just record it that way. I'll put it up when you guys can get to it. I don't see the button. I don't want to take the time. Greek has to do with expressing usage, and usage is important, and gender is an important piece of that. Now, so every noun and every verb class will have, it will either be masculine or feminine or neuter. Every noun. There are no exceptions. Every noun, every verb will have either singleness or plural forms. And the third aspect that you need to recognize when you look at a verb is the ability to indicate how it's going to function in the sentence. And that is an issue called case. The case indicates how the word is actually being used in the sentence, particularly as it relates to nouns, okay? You have, in English, mostly usage is determined by where the word appears in the sentence. We tend to have a very limited ability to use different pieces. But the apostle rebuked the demon. Obviously, the apostle is the subject, rebuked is the verb, and the demon is the direct object, what was rebuked. Okay? The word order indicates that apostle is the subject of the verb, demon is the direct object, and you can turn it around, and if you turn it around, then the demon rebuked the apostle. The demon becomes the subject, and the apostle becomes the direct object. Because in the English language, the position determines usage. That is not the case in the Greek language. Sometimes in English is determined by the case, as in personal pronouns. We say I, which is nominative. The plural is we. I is singular, we plural, and they function as a subject of a sentence. Okay? They function as the subject of the sentence. They are what are called nominative subjects, nouns. Okay? Genitive function to indicate one function of the genitive is possession. Singular, my, plural, our. Notice the tremendous difference in these words, and yet they are, in fact, singular and plural of the same concept or idea. The third case in the Greek that you're going to study is the dative case, and one function of the dative is to indicate the indirect object in a sentence. We usually add the word to or for. It's not in the Greek, but we need it in English to help the understanding. Me, to or for me, singular, us, plural. And then the third one is called the accusative. The accusative ending, in this case, me or us, singular or plural. Typically, the accusative indicates the direct object. So, class, you need to learn this. This is a non-negotiable. If you're going to learn to read New Testament Greek, you're going to have to learn the cases, and there are 4 of them: nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative. These are the 4 cases or kinds of usage that will appear in a Greek sentence. The word, it'll either be nominative, genitive, dative, or accusative, and that indicates its usage. The case indicates the usage, not the position of the word in the sentence. The subject of a sentence can be the very last word in a Greek sentence. Not so in English. We don't tend to speak that way. So the case is what determines the usage, not the position of the word in the sentence. Okay? This is very important. So here are the 4 cases that you need to memorize: nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative. These indicate how a noun is being used in a sentence. Is it the subject? It can be the subject of a sentence. It can be the subject of a clause. It can be the subject of a phrase. Does it show possession? Is it my or our house? That would be indicated by the genitive. The dative would indicate indirect object. The accusative would indicate direct object. These class, you must learn, okay? You must learn them. The case ending indicate how the noun functions in a sentence. It's the ending, it's the case endings on the base of the noun that indicate how it's going to function in the sentence under review that you would be studying. Okay? Nominative, subject, genitive, indicating perhaps ownership or possession. Dative can do the same thing. Or the accusative functioning as direct object of a verb. Okay? In the nominative case, used as the subject of the verb. If it is a nominative, if you identify the noun as nominative, then it is functioning as a subject. Now, the verb may be understood, may not even have a verb, but it is understood that a verb should be there. Okay? That's something you'll have to get used to. It's used as the subject of the verb. Hey, phone, the voice. Phone is nominative. You can tell by the ending, would indicate that it is the subject of something. Okay. Cardiae, plural, hearts. It is used in the nominative because of that ending that tells me alpha, iota, this is the nominative case. It answers the question, who? The Son of God gave the gift to the man. You ask the question, who gave the gift to the man? And the answer to the question, who, is the Son. The Son gave the gift to man. So if you're trying to figure it out, obviously if you translate it into English, it'll be easier, but you'll learn to recognize it and spot it by the ending, knowing that it is a nominative noun. The genitive case used for possession or family relations, and this is just one of 20 plus possible usages of the genitive. So this is just for you to start understanding how it functions here, okay? This in no way is all that the genitive case can do, but it is used to frame possession or to indicate family relations. Taste, phones. Taste, phones. The eta sigma ending tells me that this is the ending that indicates how this word is being used in a sentence. Phono, phone, the short is the base. And the base, you add the ending to the base to indicate whether it is nominative, genitive, dative, or accusative. So the base is used with the different endings to indicate usage in a particular sentence. And it would be translated of the voice. Of the voice. Now, the word of is introduced as a part of the English translation in order for it to make sense to us in English class. But the word of is actually not a part of this Greek word here. That's a translational issue that we are wrestling with when we're trying to bring it over into English, as you're going to see how many times you have to do it, because there isn't a strict, clear relationship between these nouns. Okay. Cardion. We've seen cardi, which is the root or what we call the base of the noun. And we added the ending omega nu, which indicates that we are talking about plural hearts as a genitive. So the omega nu indicates that this usage of cardi is a genitive case. I know it's genitive case because of the ending. Okay. Answers whose. The Son of God gave the gift to the man. The English preposition of is added in the translation. So the Son of God. Whose son is he? Whose son is it? He is the Son of God, indicating possession here. Okay. The dative case used to indicate the indirect object is in just one example class of its usage. Te, phone. Now notice the only difference here is that we've added the iota subscript, and that indicates that this is dative, that it is not nominative. Now, otherwise, it would be exactly the same as the nominative. The only indication that it's different is the little iota subscript. So you have to look at all the details in order to make sure you don't make a translational error because you didn't observe the iota. The iota under the eta indicates that this is in fact the dative case, the nominative case, which of course has the same eta ending. The circumflex is also important at this point. You could translate it to the voice or for the voice, depending on how it's being used in the sentence. Cardiace, cardiace, cardiace. The accent notice is on the second syllable. Cardiace indicates that we are talking about plural, more than one heart. Now notice the ending, alpha, iota, sigma is the ending that indicates plural dative. This is a plural dative noun, refers to or for the heart. Answers to or for whom. The Son of God gave the gift to the man. The English preposition to or for is added in the translation for clarity. To whom or for whom did the Son of God give the gift? To whom did the Son of God give the gift? He gave the gift to the man. In this case, to the man is, in Greek, it would be a prepositional phrase, which is serving as the indirect object of what was given. But I'll talk about that more later. The accusative case, the fourth case, is used for the direct object of the verb. What did the action do? Or what is the result of the action? Tain, phonane. Notice the ending, tain, phonane. Here we have the root or base, phone, and we add the eta new ending that indicates that this is the accusative case. And in a sentence, it would be functioning, since it is the accusative case, it would be functioning as the direct object of some verb. Okay. The voice, singular. Okay. Cardias, indicating plural hearts. Cardias. Okay. Answer the question, what? The Son of God gave what? What did the Son of God give? He gave the gift. It answers the question, what? So if you ask what with the main verb, whatever the answer to that is, it means it is functioning as a direct object class. Direct object. Okay. Now, the word morphology, morpho, form, how does the word actually form? How do you put it together to make it a word? And the paradigms look at how that word can be declined. Since this is a first declension noun, feminine, which means the nouns are feminine. Morphology, unlike English word order, is not significant in group. In Greek, that is, its position doesn't determine its function. The form determines its function, but position can emphasize emphasis, a different issue. In the Greek language, where they put a word in a sentence can often indicate emphasis. So normally you would expect the subject of the sentence to be up near the front of what's going on. But sometimes they put the subject all the way at the end of the sentence, and it's put there for emphasis. So that's one of the things that you will learn and you will need to be on the lookout for. Greek nouns will have different case endings depending on their function in a sentence. And as you learn Greek, as you memorize your vocabulary words, you will memorize how they come together to actually form meaning, how they actually form meaning. Okay, the case of a noun determines whether it is the subject, the direct object, indirect object, object of a preposition, etc., etc. Now, morphology have to do with the study of how words form, the morphology, the study of how words are actually formed. Every word has what we call root or a base upon which both endings, you can add endings to this word, but you can also add prepositions, other words to make it even more significant in terms of how it's used. But learn to recognize what the form or what the root is, because the root is always going to remain the same unless the ending forces it to change. And sometimes the root will change based on the ending, as you will discover. This is called the stem or the root or the base. What is the root of the word? When you add the ending, you add it to the root or stem to make the new word. So you have stem plus ending. Cardi is the stem. And to this stem, we can add endings. Alpha, that would be considered the ending. Cardia, the noun for heart. Phone, the noun for voice. Now, this is why this is important, class. You see those endings? Feminine nouns have two sets of endings. There are feminine nouns that end in eta. They are eta nouns. And feminine nouns can end in alpha. They are alpha nouns. Probably in the New Testament, I haven't thought about it. It's probably about equal, I would imagine, class. In terms of the New Testament, how many words are feminine, how many words are masculine? Probably pretty close, the same. The alpha pattern or alpha nouns end in A, and eta pattern end in ada. These are the two sets of endings that first declension nouns can have. And there are lots of them in the New Testament. Alpha endings are found on those nouns whose stem ends in iota, rho, as in cardia. It wouldn't be cardiae. It would be cardia, end with an alpha. Ecclesia, word for church or congregation or gathering or assembly. Ek out, ecclesia, called out, the called out ones, basically. Hemera, notice it ends with a rho. Hemera means day. Alpha endings are also found on verbs ending with epsilon. This is also known as the alpha pi rule. The alpha pi rule. If it ends with epsilon, you have the alpha pi rule, which we will explain later. So here is the first declension eta pattern for the noun phone. The nominative, the article goes with the noun. And the article will have the same gender, number, and case as the noun that it goes with. This is very important, class. Greek nouns can take an article. It can have an article, or it doesn't have to have an article. But if it has an article, that article is going to agree with that noun in number, case, and gender. That's a rule you got to learn, memorize, and just know. Now, in order to form the singular case, so here we have the four cases. What are they? Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. Nominative is the subject. Genitive is usually possession. Dative, ownership, and the accusative usually as the direct object. So we have hey, notice rough breathing mark. Hey, phone, nay. Hey, phone, the voice. In this form, class, it would be the subject. The genitive, taste, phones. Now, you can see here that there's a relationship. The genitive article, the, is simply the eta with a rough breathing mark, hey. The ending for the nominative usage of the noun phone is phone. Hey, phone. Taste, phones. is the genitive. Notice the form of the genitive is the same in the article as it is in the noun. Notice tain, te, phone. The alpha subscript indicating that this is the dative usage because we have the circumflex and we have the iota subscript indicating that this is a dative case. This one here is the nominative case. It has an accent, no circumflex, and no iota. That's how you know the difference. And then the accusative, of course, is the form of the phonane, tain, phonane. Okay. Tain, phonane. This would be the voice used as an accusative noun in a sentence, indicating that it is, of course, direct object. The plural is a, hey, notice the rough breathing mark, hey, phone, tone, phonone, taste, phonace, toss, phonos. Notice the ending here. These are the plural endings. These are the singular ending for nouns that follow the eta pattern. Okay, this is very, very important, class, because it really is a pattern that you have to memorize. You just have to memorize it. If a noun ends with an eta, this is how it forms its singular and plural forms. Alpha pattern are those nouns that end with an alpha. Notice that the articles are the same, whether they are alpha or eta, but the ending is an alpha. Cardia, cardias, carda, cardan. The endings are the exact same, except it's an alpha rather than an eta. The plural, cardiae, cardione. The genitive plural form of second declension nouns also end with a omega nu. Cardia, cardios. This is os, ace, own, a. Hearts as a subject, hearts as a genitive of possession, perhaps, dative, or the accusative. These are endings you just have to memorize, class. There's no other way to do it other than memorizing a, ace, a, on. You simply have to memorize these endings. There is no other way. You have names are identical in the plural. Phone, phonone, phonice, phonos, cardia, cardiae, cardione, cardiace, cardias. Notice the plural ending, whether it is an eta or an alpha, the endings are exactly the same in the plural. They are different in the singular, but they are the same in the plural. This is an eta form, phone, but in the plural, phone, phonone, phonace, phonos. This is how you form the morphology of how you form first declension nouns, okay? The genitive singular and the accusative plural have the same form. Notice. So the only way you know the difference between a genitive singular, cardias, and an accusative plural, cardias, is the article. Taste is singular, tas is plural. Now, what if you encounter this word and there is no article? Well, the only way you can determine which it is by its usage in the sentence itself. You look at the article, plural articles, hey, tone, taste, tas, as over against a, hey, taste, tay, tame. The article becomes very important in your discovering what the intended meaning is. How do we determine which is correct? Cardias, genitive singular, accusative plural. How do you know which one it is? Well, if it doesn't have an article, you simply have to go by context. In the context, is it singular or is it plural? Is it functioning in relationship to a noun indicating some kind of ownership, possession, or is it the answer to a what question relative to the verb? So if it has the article, then of course it's easy to determine whether it's taste, cardias, or whether it is tas, cardias. The tas is plural, taste is singular. So if it has the article, it's easier to recognize which form it is. But if it doesn't, then you got nothing but context to go by. The indefinite articles, the word a and an are part of the same thing, okay? It's part of the same thing. A boy, an apple. Now, if you remember your grammar from fifth grade, you know that if a word starts with a vowel, then you use an. And if it doesn't, you use a. A boy, an apple is the same thing as it relates to the article in English. The Greek has no quote unquote indefinite article. Indefinite means that you're not talking about a specific boy. You just a boy. Whereas if you say the boy, you're talking about a specific one. So indefinite meaning that you're talking about more of a category, boys, whereas the boy indicates you are zeroing in on a specific phone, voice, a voice. He heard a voice. Now in English, we would add the letter A. He heard a voice. In the Greek, it would just be he heard voice. There would be no A. We use it in English because that's the way we speak, okay? Ora, hora. Notice the rough breathing mark with the accent on the first syllable. Hora. Hora is the Greek word for hour. Hora. and we would say an hour or hour. His hour has come. Depending on its usage in the sentence, we either add an or we don't. Okay. A Greek noun that has no definite article is called anauthorous. This is important, class, because whether a noun is authorous or anauthorous can be an important theologically significant point. For example, class, in John 1:1, it says, in the beginning is how it's translated in 99.999 English translations. Yet in the Greek, there is no article. It says in beginning. Foreign to the English ear, we say in a beginning. In a beginning was the word. Now, those who try to get theologically cute often end up abusing the text and trying to make it say something that the author never intended. He is not saying that Jesus Christ had a beginning. That is not what that is saying. Understanding how the article is used is an important emphasis. It's anauthorous, meaning no article. In the Greek, English has only one article, what we call definite article, the word the boy. When you have the boy, you're talking about a specific boy. The Greek has three. Masculine, ho, feminine, he, and neuter, to. So as I told you, as we started tonight, there is masculine, feminine, and neuter nouns in Greek. English, we don't focus much on gender in terms of every word. We have some words that are clearly built to be feminine, some words that are clearly built to be masculine. And many, many words have neither masculine or feminine. And we would not say that they are neuter. They simply don't refer to gender at all. But in the Greek language, a word is either masculine, feminine, or neuter. There is no other choice, and it will have to be one of those. Okay. The Greek used articles with abstract nouns like Sophia, the wisdom. Hey, Sophia, the wisdom, even though wisdom is abstract. We'll talk more about that. In the Greek, they use an article with name. It would be the John, even though in English we would simply say John. They employed the article even with proper names, which we will look at. So here the article is he, phone, tes, phones, te, tain, phonane, tain, te, phone, excuse me, tain, phonane, I, phoni, tone, phonon, taste, phones, tas, phonas. The article must agree with its noun, both in case, number, and gender. The article follows the eta pattern and not the alpha pattern. as we saw. Plural is the same, whether it's eta or alpha pattern, the plural is the same. Hey, tone, taste, toss. Difference in the singular. The accent on the first declension noun tends to stay on the same syllable as the lexical form. Now, what do we mean by lexical form? If the ultima is long, the accent will move to the penult. Aletheia, word for truth. Aletheia, aletheia. Because notice the outer subscript here. This would be different case than this one. Aletheia, aletheia. The accent, it changes syllables. Now, we don't really pay much attention to that because we don't speak it in conversation. These things would be important if you were speaking it in conversation with someone, but since we don't speak it, we read it. We just need to know the form and to recognize what form it is taking. The genitive plural is also accented with a circumflex on the ultima, cardion. The circumflex, of course, indicating where the ending emphasis is. We're just going to really, class, touch on conjunction because there's a whole chapter on conjunction, believe me. Now, if you join the class late, let me, by the way, class, let's take a 10-minute break. But if you join the class late, let me go back over some things that you missed, okay? Number one, if you receive the link to the class, then in the link that I sent you tonight so that you can log on, and by the way, class, I'll send the link out every Monday morning, a new link. You cannot join the class with last week's link. The date of the link will be in there. So today is the 19th. If the link doesn't say the 19th, then it's not the right link. It will always be on the day of the class that you get the link for the class. The previous week link will not work. It's very important. Second thing, class, you'll also need to always look. Now, in this week's link, I put the link for the syllabus. If you didn't get it, you can still download it. But I also put a link in there for class notes. If you click on this link, you will get 330 plus pages of the notes that I'm giving. Now, I don't know if you want to print them all off, but you could. If you wanted to make a syllabus of a note for yourself, you could definitely do that. But this is so you can follow along. Now, in the class notes are some very helpful pieces that you can use. For example, in the class notes is this chart of the alphabet, which you could print off and you could take it with you as you're learning the alphabet class. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, psi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. Here you can learn the pronunciation. I give you the letter name. I give you the pronunciation, which you don't need to pay much attention to the difference between Erasmian and Koine Greek, or necessarily the modern way that Greeks say the noun. What you need to know is the letter and what we think is the way the Koine Greek pronounce the words, okay? This is a great little chart for you to print off and to use to practice your, not only your pronunciation of the Greek letters, particularly the lowercase, but also to be able to recognize them when you see them, class. Very, very, very important. This is part of the information that I get to you in the class. So if you don't have that, you will need to get to that. All right, I'll give you a few more minutes for break, and then we'll come back and finish out our class.
Did anybody get the link for this class tonight?
Oh, I did.
You know, in particular,
I didn't receive it.
I did. I got it also, Wells.
Well, I'm wondering why are some people getting it and some not?
No, yeah, I didn't receive it.
Let him know you didn't receive it. Did you check your spam box as well?
Oh yeah.
What about
Yes, ma'am.
promotion? Look in your promotion box.
Mm-hmm.
Did you check your promotion box?
No, I didn't.
Yes.
Check in your promotion box, because sometime it'll go in your promotion box.
Hey guys, if you open up your email in the top, there's a search engine. Just type in Cooper, and whatever's associated with that name will show
It'll
up.
pop up. Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
it will pop up. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Como.
Hey, how you doing, Dr. Williams?
I'm doing fine. My
Good.
brother George.
He's doing great. Doing great. He was supposed to be sitting in, but he's outside working on some things.
Okay.
So how you doing?
I'm doing great. Got home this afternoon.
Oh, well, that's great.
Just getting back.
That's great.
Yes, ma'am. We're great.
Still
We're doing
traveling
good.
the highway, huh?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Loving it. Loving it.
Well, that's good. Thank God for safe travel.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Is anybody in here getting a college credit, seminary credit for this class?
The majority of them are.
And how do you get those hours credited to your school?
They are in school. They're in Lyft. Majority of them are students of Lyft Bible Crusade.
Of what school?
Lyft Bible Crusade College.
How do you spell that?
LIFT. Bible Crusade.
All right, students.
Thank you. Got it. Thank you.
Let's
Okay.
resume here. There can only be a couple of reasons why you're not getting the link to the class. One, you're not registered, or two, you've never accepted the email that comes from me, because if you don't accept it, it will not, it will go to your spam. So you have to check in your junk mail or your spam file if you're not getting it. It can only be one of two reasons. You're either not registered in its class, or your filter is sending it to spam. or trash because you never accepted and said it's okay to receive emails from me, because I use a company to send out emails, because there are times when I send out hundreds. There are times when I send out 700-800 emails, and you have to say it's okay to receive emails from me. Otherwise, it will be treated as spam or junk. So you just need to make sure. Now, the next thing, class, if you're in this class and you don't have the link for today's class by 10 a.m. in the morning, that means there's a problem. You need to be sending me an email, or it'd be best to send me an email to let me know that, so that I can check and see if now the program that I use for this class will tell me if your email bounced, meaning you have a bad email or whatever, or if it in fact is junk. And I don't see that indication in the list. I haven't gotten it for today. I won't get it until tomorrow to know what happened. So the link for this class comes out every Monday morning. I send it out at 7:30 a.m. my time, Florida time. If by 10 a.m. you don't have it, that means that there's a problem, and you need to be on it then. It's a little late to wait till the class starts and then start saying that you didn't get it, because I don't have time to stop the class to deal with whether or not it needs to be forwarded to you or whatever. So what you need to do is become a partner with somebody, and if you don't have it, see if your partner has it, and if he does, he can forward it to you. That would be the best way to stay up to speed. All right, let's get back here. Conjunctions, and we're just going to touch on it because you need to know a few of the most used conjunctions, because you're going to encounter them in just about every verse in the New Testament. You're going to have one of these conjunctions. It rarely will you read a verse that doesn't have at least one of them. Okay, so which is why we're going to introduce you, but you need to know there are 40, 50, 60 conjunctions. But the three absolute most used conjunctions you need to know in order to do any kind of translation work. Conjunctions are indeclinable words used to link words, phrases, clauses, and larger discourse units. By indeclinable, we mean it never changes its form. Never. It never changes its form. It's going to be the same 90% of the time. Okay. De, kai, and men are all coordinating conjunctions. They communicate a parallel relationship between the words, phrases, or clauses that they link. De, kai, and men are the most commonly used conjunctions in the New Testament. De means but, kai means and men typically on the other hand, or on the one hand, depending on how it's being used in the sentence. De, pronounced de, delta epsilon, de is a postpositive conjunction. Now, what does that mean? It never will occur as the first word in a clause in a Greek sentence. In the Greek class, it will never be the first word in a sentence. is post-positive, meaning that it has to be past the first word. Now, when we translate it into English, we make it the first word in the sentence or clause because that's how we speak English. But in the Greek, it's never the first word in the sentence. And there's a name for it. And the name is post-positive. Okay, post-positive. And day is just one of several conjunctions that are considered post-positive, which I'll introduce you to at the appropriate time. Now, parsing is the name of the game. This is why you're learning what you're learning. In order to parse nouns and verbs, to be able to memorize the nominative, genitive, dative, accusative forms, and to be able to describe nouns and verbs in terms of the essential components of it. For example, we've already found out that there's number, singular or plural, gender, masculine, feminine, or single, case, it can be nominative, it can be genitive, it can be dative, it can be accusative. So here are three things that you can say about every noun. It is a singular masculine nominative. You just described the three important characteristics that are identifiable by a word. And everybody that reads it will come to that same conclusion because it doesn't change. The number is either single or plural. The gender is either masculine, feminine, or single. The case is either nominative, genitive, dative, or accusative. So we're asking you to list the different aspects of the noun or verb that you are considering. Okay? To parse a word means to tell everything you know about it, everything that you can identify about it by looking at the component parts of the word. Okay? Now, let's take the word cardion. Now, as you work on this, you will come to know that this word, of course, cardion, the alpha new ending, tells you that this is what? What case is this? Is it singular or plural? Is it masculine or feminine? When you parse it, you tell me what gender it is, what case it is, what number it is. And you know the root or the stem because you memorized cardi as the stem or root or base of the word plus the ending. So in this case, class, cardia is the lexical form. In other words, if you wanted to look this word up in the lexicon, the Greek dictionary, this word would not appear. It would be this one. This is the lexical form. And the lexical form is usually the nominative when it comes to a noun. So cardia is the lexical form. This is what you would look up if you wanted to find out what the lexical meaning of cardion is. You'd have to look up this word cardia because this is the base or the stem or the root. It is feminine because we know that it is an alpha pattern. First declension nouns are overwhelmingly feminine. So the gender, it is an alpha pattern, we automatically know that this word is feminine. So you just memorize it. It's become part of your language. It is also in the accusative. On is the accusative case ending for alpha nouns. Tain, cardion. On, ton, cardion. Now, is it singular or plural? It's singular. Cardia, and it's often translated heart, a heart. So on a test class, if I ask you to parse a noun, you would tell me that you'd give me the lexical form, gender, case, and number. Feminine accusative singular. Masculine accusative plural. Masculine nominative plural. You would parse it by telling me what are the aspects of this noun form right here. You are parsing this noun. You give the lexical form, the gender, the case, the number, and offer a translation. This is how you parse nouns. Someone says to you that it's a feminine accusative singular noun from the word cardia, often translated a heart, a heart. They have parsed it for you. So now, class, when you're reading in lexical dictionaries or when you're reading in some commentaries and they tell you that it's an accusative, you know what the accusative case, how it functions. Now you know what he's telling you and what the significance is, of what he's telling you by giving you these descriptors. Okay. First declension nouns are feminine nouns, and there are two forms of the feminine noun. Those who have an eta ending and those that have an alpha ending. Now, what's the vocabulary for this week? Now, before I do that, if you have gotten the notes that I sent you, if you scroll through them, you will see last week's vocabulary, which you should now know. You should have memorized these. And most of these, I think you already know them because you've heard them before. Agape, you know that's love. Now, by the way, in the lexicon, in the Greek dictionary class, whenever they give you the lexical form, they will also give you the article because the article tells you whether it's feminine, masculine, or neuter. You can't always tell by the word itself whether it's masculine, feminine, or neuter, but you can always tell by the article. So agape is love. Gay is the Greek word for earth or land. Zoe is life. One, by now you should know, means voice or sound. Aletheia, aletheia, the accent is on the eta, aletheia, truth. Har, martia. Harmatia is the word for sin. Basilia means kingdom or the reign of a king. Doxa, glory. Ecclesia, a church or assembly, called out one. He mera, day. Cardia, heart. De can be translated and, but, or now even, depending on usage. Kai can be translated and or even, also usage determines. Men can be translated on the one hand. It can also be translated indeed. And then you have the vowels. Ho, masculine. He, feminine. Tu, neuter. Ho indicates second declension. He indicates first declension. To indicates third declension. I'll give you a heads up as you are getting ready to be made aware of those usages. Tonight we're going to learn Adolphos. 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 Notice it's the rough breathing mark ho, which indicates it's masculine, brother. Adolphos is the Greek word for brother, pronounced Adelphos. Adelphos. Adolphos. Brother. Now, Philadelphia actually is the feminine form of Adolphos, which would be translated sister. Now, we say it means brotherly love. Actually, it means sister. Philadelphia is actually feminine, not masculine, but for some reason we translate it brotherly love. Anthropos, anthropos means man, human being. Can be translated husband. We get our word anthropology, means the study of man. By the way, anthropos is the generic word for man. It doesn't mean specific man. It doesn't mean masculine. It means mankind. Man as a species. Man as a species consists of male and female. Okay, this word anthropos refers to the species class. It's very important. Theos, the word for God. Theos, we get our word theology, means the study of God. The name Theo is from the Greek word for God. Theo. Theos, God. Cosmos, notice is a masculine term. Cosmos can be translated world or universe or even adornment. We get our word cosmos, which is a transliteration of this word. Cosmology, the study of the universe, the heavens, even cosmetics come from this Greek word cosmos, which in the course made famous in John 3:16, for God so loved the cosmos, okay, that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe. Curios means Lord, Master, or Sir. Curios can refer to Christ, can refer to God the Father, but it could also refer to a man. Curios. So we have autophos, anthropos, theos, cosmos, curios. Now you notice all these endings. This is how it would appear in the Greek dictionary. The lexical form is autophos, anthropos, theos, cosmos, curios. Notice they're all masculine, and these are second declension nouns, which is what we will study next. Because they're all masculine. Notice. Logos, word, message, or an account. We get our word logic from this word. Theology, logos, words about God. Psychology, logos is the root base. Nomos means law. Theonomists, or law livers. The word law, this word is used, of course, to refer to the Mosaic law, the law of God. Okay. Uranos, heaven or sky. Uranos, we get our word Uranus from this Greek word, which means heaven. The heaven. Uranos. Weos, the Greek word for son. It can also be translated descendant. Notice the rough breathing mark. We pronounce weos. Weos means son. Jesus is the weos of God. Weos, the Son of God. Christos, of course, is the word for Christ or Messiah, anointed one. So you should already know this word, Christos, weos, uranos, nomos, and logos. Word, law, heaven, son, Christos, Messiah, Christ, the Greek word Christos, or the Hebrew word Moshiach. Ergon, epsilon, rho, gamma, omicron, nu. Ergon is the Greek word for work. Ergon, a deed. We get our word ergonomic. Ergo is from the word ergon, which means work in Greek. Very important word, by the way, because of how it's used in the Greek New Testament. Pronounced ergon. Euangelion. Euangelion. Good news. And I changed it, class. It actually should be glad tidings. This word does not mean gospel. That's an unfortunate development where we now read back into this word a meaning that it did not have. The word simply means good news. You is the Greek word for good. Angelion is a message, good message, basically is what this word means. A good message, glad tidings. Remember now, when you have two gammas together, it's pronounced NG. You angelion, not you aga. You angelion. It's ong. You angelion. The Greek word for good news, glad tidings. Okay. Of course, we get our word evangelistic from it. We get our word evangelical from this Greek word. See how many words in our English language actually derive from Greek or Latin? It's quite a few. This is rough breathing marks, so it's pronounced with an H sound. He, here, Ron. Huron. Huron is the Greek word for temple. It can also be translated sanctuary, though there's another Greek word which really should be translated sanctuary because it has a different sense to it. Temple is probably the best translation for this word. Huron. Huron. Themion. Themion. Notice that this is not diaeresis. You don't separate these two. This is a diphthong. They go together. Themion, which is the word for sign, the Greek word for sign, semiotic. We get our word semiotics from this word. Themion, meaning sign. Teknon, toe, notice, all these words have toe, T-O, which tells you that these words are neuter. They're not masculine, they're not feminine, they are actually neuter nouns. Ergon, euangelion, Huron, Themion, Teknon, all having the Omicron new ending, indicating that they are neuter nouns. Teknon is the child, doesn't refer to a male child or a female child, a boy or girl. It's simply nondescript, a child. Often translated descendant or child, rarely son. Okay. Teknon. So lots of opportunities for you to learn new vocabulary this week, class. Opportunity for you to have a chance to get your vocabulary up. Now, you will have memorized, I don't know what, probably about 35 words. And those 35 words are very, very common words, particularly in the Gospel of John. Learning those 35 words can almost get you through first chapters of John, particularly after we add a few of the key verbs that you are going to get to. So very important for you to do that. I left a few minutes. I wanted to leave a few minutes for class for questions, any questions you have as you've started your journey into baby Greek. The textbook, if you got the textbook, which I would strongly encourage you to do it, because he will explain and go into detail on some things that I don't. Just because you can't do everything in a class, but if you have questions, you certainly need to bring them to class. Pastor Bevan.
Yes, I just, as we was going through our vocabulary, is it logos or logos? Because I've, you know, I guess which one it is? Because I've heard, you know, I've always used logos.
Yeah. Well, you can see in the way it's spelled that it's not logo, it's not it's not omega, long O, it's omicron. So it would at best could be logos.
Okay.
So it would be logos
Okay.
actually. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else? And by the way, class, there are pronunciation guides. There are links in the book to where you can go to hear the word pronounced. Of course, if you have Logos, the Bible study software, it will pronounce every word, phrase, idea for you. You would want to do that. And because I've been studying the language 20, 30 plus years. But every once in a while, there's a word that I don't use often, and I'll need to go practice how to say it. So don't be unwilling to learn, because properly pronouncing the word is very important. So don't be afraid to not do that. Okay. Any other questions? As you saw in the class, there are what we call nuances, that is, different shades of meaning, and usage becomes critical, because even though the word may have basic meaning, the author may have turned it, excuse me, he may have slightly turned it to flavor some slight sense that he wants or needs it to have to get across the particular meaning that he intends. And it's only as with English, the more you use the language, the better at it you understand it, and the more you're able to, quote unquote, finesse it. So translation becomes a lot more fun when you know the language and can see the slight variations in terms of meaning and tone and intent the author may have. So it'll become a lot more fun to you as you learn more vocabulary. Any other questions? All right. Remember what I said. Go ahead.
Real quick, I was just going to mention before that in the book, if you go to page 1, there's a link there called beginninggreek.com. It's a great website. It's a website for the book, but if you go on the bottom, there's a lot of links there where you can download stuff, flashcards, videos.
Yeah, I would strongly urge your class to get flashcards to make them. Anytime you're sitting around, got 15, 20 minutes, just go through your vocabulary. Just learning Greek is about learning vocabulary. And the more words you know, the more words you can recognize, the easier it is for you to actually translate.
I just want to make a comment. I've been writing the alphabet out like it's my job, right? And no matter what I do, I cannot make a nice XI or a nice data. Those two letters are so hard to draw that it's ridiculous. And I'm gonna keep writing them until I perfect it. But I can be looking right at it. And and the Xi and the Zeta.
Yeah.
Are very
Yeah, they are
difficult.
somewhat hard. You have
But
to
I'm not
practice.
an artist either, so that might be another thing.
Yeah,
I had
it'd be,
my fiance draw me up flashcards. She is an artist, and they're beautiful. But I can't do it.
yeah, well, you don't have to be
I've
perfect at it.
wrote the alphabet out 100 times.
You don't have to be
Especially
perfect at it. You just have to.
Psi.
You just have to practice. You don't have to be perfect. You're not trying to win an award here. Not in terms of the function. Yeah, you know, Jason, I'm not sure what's going on with your audio. It's just not good. I don't know why your microphone just is not good for some reason. But
You're lagging real bad.
it's just impossible to understand almost what you're saying. You might want to try another mic or a couple to do that. Okay, class. Hey, God bless you guys. Have a fantastic week. I'll see if the recording came out. If it came out as a good recording, I may upload it and give you a link so that you can review the class. But if you have the notes and if you have the book and some of the websites that are mentioned in the